Everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica and our continuing series, the Unported playlist, where we take a look at some of my favorite unported arcade games of all time. And today we have 1995's Dirt Dash, released by Namco, and it is basically Namco's answer to Sega Rally, because it plays very similar, although it looks totally different. And honestly, if I could say an unpopular opinion, I think I might actually like Dirt Dash a little bit more than I do like Sega Rally. And the interesting thing about this game is that it really looks like a PlayStation 1 game. You would think that Namco was using the PlayStation 1 board in arcades, because they did, in fact, use that hardware for some games. But this is actually on their System 22, which has a GPU developed and engineered by Evans and Sutherland. And when have you ever heard that name mentioned in arcade gameplay before? It's a really fun board that has like a little bit better graphics than the PlayStation 1, but I love the look of it, I love the soundtrack, I love this intro, and it definitely has everything that I'm looking for in an arcade racing game. So much so that I definitely think I will add this to my collection and wire up a custom wheel and pedal set like I did with my Hyper Neo Geo 64 stuff, because I just really enjoy the game. And unlike Sega Rally with stages, you have a map, and you can start anywhere from very easy to very hard, and your entire goal is to make one full lap around the rally course. And I will say that is much more difficult than you would think, and you have different cars that you can choose from. Showing you all there, I went with beginner because the controls can be a little touchy on an Xbox One analog stick, and you can definitely tweak them in the system settings, but for me, the beginner car is just the easiest. And we start out right here, downtown. It kind of looks like a mix between Tokyo and China with all those different, neon signs up there. But the game moves at, 60 frames a second. It's fast. You have a lot of bump and run action in the racing. And it definitely, if you're into these type of arcade racing games, this has a ton to offer. Now, granted, replayability, it is just one track, and you will see that it does get quite hard, and you do get bumped around a lot. So getting really good at this game is definitely going to take you a lot of time and effort, and that's definitely where a lot of the replayability is going to come for you. But as far as the racing game's concerned, it is excellent, and Namco was great at making games that were very similar to Sega. I don't want to call it a copy, because it really isn't, and I wish I had gotten that jump better, because I just totally failed at it. But Namco made games that were similar to what Sega was doing, but they definitely had a specific Namco feel to them, because Tekken was a response to Virtua Fighter, but it had its own unique vibe and feel to it compared to Virtua Fighter. And something like Dirt Dash, it's similar in aspects to Sega Rally. It's a rally game. You get someone telling you when turns are coming up, and you get little visual indicators on the screen. But it plays, looks, and feels completely different to Sega Rally. And you'll see here I tried to take that shortcut and I spun out, so I probably actually lost time, but there are certain shortcuts in the stages as well that push it a little bit more towards that arcade racing feel than something like Sega Rally. And considering that I love things like San Francisco Rush and those, Cruisin' USA cabinets, those arcade racers, this to me feels a little bit more fun than something like Sega Rally. But it definitely, reputationally wise, doesn't have the same reputation that Sega Rally does. And it's unfortunate that these games weren't ported home. I could see this running on the PlayStation 1 because it looks so similar, but maybe that weird Evans and Sutherland based GPU was just too hard to translate over, because it definitely used, a different type of architecture, because while they were a graphics firm, it's not a place and a company that you hear too much about. And I do love all the diversity that this game gives you. Now we're racing through this kind of Mayan jungle. We're going to be seeing huts and temples, and each stage of the game definitely has something different going on. And I did string this playthrough together from a bunch of different runs. You can increase the time, but I left the game on normal difficulty, and I was getting to the point where I was almost achieving full laps, so I was definitely a little short on them. But as opposed to making the game really easy and showing you one full lap, I decided to show you what a standard difficulty run would be and go from there. Because I do make this checkpoint, but I'm making them by like 1 or 2 seconds. And if you take too many bumps into the wall, or if you spin out one too many times, you're just not going to be able to actually finish the race. So it definitely has that challenge, but if you collected this for the home as an arcade board, or you played it on an emulator, you're not going to have to pumping so many quarters in there to be able to continue. And you'll see that I ran right into that stick and flipped over, and you do get some nice obstacles that you have to deal with while bumping cars around you. And I also appreciate the truck has that Gunboat logo on there, because Point Blank, I think, is Namco's best series of all time. Granted, it definitely got ported home, so I won't be talking about it here, but it is a really fun game to play. Get a tiny bit of graphical glitching right there in the reflections, but otherwise this hardware in MAME emulates perfectly. What I'll let you do is listen to a little bit of the soundtrack, here's those engine noises and the tire noises, and I'll come back in just about a minute or so and we'll talk a little bit more about Dirt Dash. But enjoy this hairpin turn right here. I'll be back in just a second. And I do enjoy this snowy stage as well, and I appreciate that the game varies everything up. Each texture has its own different sort of grip, so as you're playing you'll see that I slid right into the wall. You have to adjust your driving style depending upon what texture you're on, what elevation you're on, and that's why this is technically part of the very hard area of the game. But Namco did a great job of making the car feel really fluid, and you get those nice graphical fog effects there. The game just looks, plays, and feels like your classic mid-90s arcade racer. And I did switch the car up just to show you how this one controls, and it's much more wild, and that back end definitely wants to come out a lot more, which makes it easier to get around corners, but it doesn't control the same way that that beginner car does, so it's definitely not one that I prefer using. But it's definitely of its time and place, and I wish we got more of these type of games. I love arcade racing games from the 90s, you know, things like Outrun, things like Cruisin' USA or World or Exotica, the San Francisco Rushes, you know, the Dirt Dashes. It's just a genre that we don't see that much of anymore at home, and it's something that I wish, you know, we still got. Even like Outrun 2006 Coast to Coast, like I will still play that on my Xbox original and enjoy the hell out of it, but it's just not something that we get that much of anymore, and that's unfortunate because some of these arcade genres just kind of died. I wish you could get a new San Francisco Rush game for modern consoles that kept the same charm in place of the original. I wish we could get something like Dirt Dash, except a modern version of it, but we just don't anymore. And you'll see here I ran out of time, and I'm just going to show you the Tokyo part again just to get a full lap in. But do I recommend you go out and play this game? 100%. It's very easy to emulate in MAME. There really doesn't need to be any setting changes, and it is quite impressive emulation considering this is a full 3D system with a GPU from a company that you don't really hear mentioned that much in arcade or console gaming whatsoever. So it's an extremely impressive technical feat that this game really does run at all, let alone as well as it does. It's running at full speed and you can play it and enjoy it. And I definitely recommend you go out and do so because it is just an awesome game. If you like Sega Rally, you're going to love this one. But short of that, that is Dirt Dash, a really fun game that I wish was ported home and never was. If you could do us a huge favor, go down below and hit like and subscribe. Definitely takes us a lot of time and energy to make each and every one of these episodes, and we appreciate your support. And if you want to hit that notification bell so you know when new episodes are out, you will. But we will be back next Sunday with another episode in our Unported arcade series, and we'll be back on Tuesday and Friday with new episodes in those series as well. But we really hope you enjoyed watching Dirt Dash. Just like Boogie Wings, the game I showed you earlier in the series, this is one that never really gets talked about that much, and I genuinely think that people should experience it because it is just one of those awesome lost arcade racing games, and I have not seen a cabinet for this in an extremely long time, not since probably I was in high school in the late 90s, early 2000s when my local arcade shut down. So you're probably not going to find this in an arcade, and if you do, definitely play it because it is getting very rare as a cabinet's concerned, and you don't want to miss the opportunity. Short of that, hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.